Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my Principles of Good Health series. I haven't been live for a few weeks in my Facebook group, and I hope you really enjoy this post tonight, my live, which will be approximately 15-20 minutes long. And I thought I'd do this today on this particular topic, which is all about cholesterol, because for many of us, we get concerned about raised cholesterol, our arteries, and therefore our heart health. So as it's Valentine's Day today, and happy Valentine's Day, I thought let's focus on our own hearts and let's look at the bigger picture around cholesterol, because I think we get a little bit scared at times around cholesterol. And I'm not trying to say here that it is not an issue at all. We have to look at the bigger picture, but I just want to put this into some context for you, and to give you a greater awareness, not only about how to create a better balance of cholesterol, but other factors that come into play when we're thinking about looking after arteries and therefore our heart health in turn. So when we think about cholesterol, we only tend to think about it in relation to, a buildup of cholesterol on our arteries. That creates plaque and they get hardened. But what we may forget is that we need cholesterol. It's really, really important to many, many functions in the body. Some of our hormones are called steroid hormones, and they require cholesterol as one of the building blocks to make those hormones. And then every cell membrane in your body has this double fatty layer, and sandwiched in between that in your cell membranes is a layer of cholesterol, really important to help to keep your cells very fluid and permeable. And what I mean by that is enabling nutrients, whether it's your vitamins, minerals, your oxygen to get into the cell, to create things like energy on the mitochondria, or indeed to allow toxicity to pass out of your cells. Really important that you've got that healthy cholesterol layer there. It's really important for that. Our brain and our nervous system also needs cholesterol. 20% of the total body cholesterol is in the brain. The central nervous system and your neurons have cholesterol, and this is enabling nerve impulses to fire across those synaptic gaps, and to keep your body functioning the way it should. And just finally, with regards to the role of cholesterol in the body, is that sunlight synthesizes cholesterol to make vitamin D. We think, oh, sunshine, vitamin D, but what we're missing there when we think about that is the role of cholesterol and what that plays to make vitamin D. And of course, we know we need vitamin D for healthy bones, for our immunity, for brain health, and so much more. So there's a bit of background about why we need cholesterol, but then we get to the situation of having blood tests, and being told that your cholesterol is high. Well, one factor I'm not going to get into here is what actually is high cholesterol, but what I do want to talk about is the different types of cholesterol that there are. I'm very much aware from talking to my clients that they're often only given the total cholesterol. And what I always ask them to go back and get, if they can, from their GP surgery, but they don't always provide this now, is the breakdown, because that's what's really important. We need to know how much is of the different types of cholesterol. What we mean by that is the protein carrier. Cholesterol is carried on protein. So we have things called HDL cholesterol, which stands for high density lipoprotein cholesterol. So you have that HDL, LDL, low density. We have VLDL, very low density. We have other fats known as triglycerides, which are usually incorporated into that cholesterol result when we get a cholesterol blood test, or should be. Now, we've got the total cholesterol, but what is really important is just how much HDL cholesterol you're carrying, and this ratio between HDL and total, and how much is LDL. There's lots of information that tells you about the sort of ranges that we should have. It's all well and good having a total cholesterol that on the face of it may seem high. If your HDL cholesterol is really good and strong and high, and your LDL and triglyceride levels are much, much lower. Because what we understand with cholesterol is that the LDL cholesterol is carrying cholesterol into your arteries, whereas the HDL, remember, cholesterol is carried on the protein, HDL or LDL. The LDL is carrying cholesterol into the arteries, whereas the HDL, high density, is carrying the cholesterol away from the arteries and back to the liver. So we need to get that breakdown. And it is very much about the balance between HDL and LDL, and also those triglyceride fats as well. This 5 that I think is often used as a marker for whether cholesterol is considered high or low. In fact, I think it's potentially come down even lower than that. If you go right back to look at the science and research and where these numbers came from, there doesn't seem to be much science out there with regards to this number 5 that's been set as the sort of marker, I believe. Very worthwhile doing some further studies around this for your own information. But I think to start with is focusing on that breakdown. Now, there are other things to consider with regards to your arteries. So atherosclerosis is when we get a buildup of plaque considered to be driven by cholesterol, narrowing your arteries and therefore making it harder for nutrients, oxygen to pass through, but with that risk that a little bit of plaque might break off and therefore could form a clot. Of course, that in itself is serious. I'm not underestimating that. But there is some additional information around what causes that plaque. Is it the cholesterol per se that is the problem, or is it the oxidation of the cholesterol? What I mean by that is we have oxidation that goes on in the body, but we need to have antioxidants, which I'll go on to talk about, like vitamin E, that is going to help to stop the oxidation. If cholesterol is oxidized, then it becomes hardened. When it's hardened, it's creating those plaques. There is another factor I would just like to mention here, which in my circle and my world, many of us consider, and I'm talking about medical professionals or well in certain fields, consider to be more relevant or as relevant as cholesterol when we think about our artery and atherosclerosis and our cardiovascular disease. And it's something known as homocysteine. It's very complicated with regards to methylation and the buildup of homocysteine. But what we do know for many aspects of our health, not just cardiovascular health, but also things like brain health and dementia, something that we're very much aware of is that for good health, we need to keep homocysteine levels down. And if anyone is interested to find out more about how you can test for homocysteine and what else we can do about that, then please do get in touch with me. I've just carried out a test of homocysteine, as has my husband. I'm pleased to say my score was 5.9. Under 7 is considered really good. Anything above 10 is considered to be more of a concern. My husband was on that border. When you start to get much higher than 11 plus, then we need to start considering that as a risk factor for various aspects of health. And with regards to your arteries, high homocysteine levels is considered to be a risk factor for damaging the arteries. And it's that one reason why cholesterol decides to form to help to protect the artery where it has already been damaged by another factor. In this case, that factor is considered to be homocysteine. And so cholesterol helps to form, to protect the artery, then it gets oxidized, then it becomes the plaque. So you can see it's a little bit more complex than just cholesterol per se. Another factor with homocysteine is it's considered to raise the more harmful, the more damaging LDL cholesterol. So as I said, measuring and testing homocysteine is possible. I would be able to direct you to a very, very good test for that. And as I said, I've just done that test. So I've spoken about the different aspects of cholesterol, HDL and LDL. And what is driving high cholesterol in the body? It's less considered today to be around the foods we eat. There was a time when we focused very much on to help drive down cholesterol, you had to reduce certain foods that were considered to be high in cholesterol, like eggs, for example, because there's higher amounts of cholesterol in egg yolks, and prawns. The information around this has changed considerably over the years, but there is still quite a big focus around the types of fats you have in your diet and around the more saturated fat. But what is very, very important to note when we think about the cholesterol is that your liver is going to make cholesterol. So if it thinks your cholesterol levels are too low, it's going to make more cholesterol. And therefore, it isn't so much a dietary aspect, it's coming more from two other aspects: your liver making cholesterol, but also your ability to excrete external cholesterol out of the body. I'll just say that again. This is very much to do with liver making cholesterol and your gut's ability to excrete excess cholesterol out of the body in your stools. And one of the factors to help with that is to do with fiber. And like soluble fiber, oats, for example, are considered to be a really helpful way to manage cholesterol. And that is because the fiber in the oats can bind to excess cholesterol coming through in your gut, bind to it and excrete it out of the body in your stools. Other things that could be helpful for that will be things like apples and pears, and just generally a higher fibrous, soluble fiber diet. So just wanted to add that aspect in there. So in terms of managing your diet overall, whilst it is less, I said, about the foods with regards to in itself raising cholesterol levels, we know there are other factors that are going to help balance your cholesterol with regards to HDL and LDL. I'll just have a little drink of water. So what would those be? Now, a diet that is higher in good fats, like oily fish found in salmon, sardines, and mackerel, with those lovely essential fat profile that you get in oily fish, is considered to be really, really helpful in managing your cholesterol overall. Then you've got things like olive oil and nuts and seeds, and all of these have been shown to help to raise levels of HDL cholesterol and help to lower the more damaging and harmful LDL cholesterol. So getting those good fats in your diet, whether it's the essential fats that you get from the oily fish, nuts and seeds, or the other good fats in your diet like olive oil and even avocado overall. This is not about taking out saturated fat completely from your diet. We need some saturated fats in our diet for vitamins, like fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin, and vitamin E is one of those antioxidants that will help to protect the fat cholesterol that becomes oxidized. So you can see it becomes a little bit more complex. You don't have to completely take out saturated fat. What you do need is good quality fats, leaner fats, and of course, you don't want to be eating them every single day. If you want the occasional steak, a little bit of lamb in your diet, some lean mince in your diet, this is fine, provided it's in moderation. The famous word that I use a lot, just don't eat too much of it. But what is important going alongside all of that is to have a really high vegetable diet for its overall antioxidant profile, not just your vitamin E, but other fats like vitamin A and vitamin C. We need a much higher vegetable profile, mostly non-starchy vegetables, so less of the root vegetables, but plenty of dark green leafy vegetables, maybe some butternut squash, some fennel, some green beans, courgettes, mushrooms, different coloured peppers, lots of colour and lots of variety, as I frequently say. The other thing we need to be aware of is sugar in the diet. Now, you might think, what on earth has sugar got to do with cholesterol? Cholesterol is a fat, isn't it? Well, sugar has been linked to raised cholesterol, And I'll just briefly explain why that is. Because a higher sugar profile, raising your blood sugar levels and raising insulin, research has shown that raised levels of insulin in your body is going to raise levels of LDL cholesterol. So coming back so often now, we come back to managing the sugars in our diet. So let's just focus on that for a moment. Sugar itself, of course, is a problem, whether that's just sugar added to drinks or to cereal, or whether it is sugar that is coming from your starchy food, predominantly your refined white wheat starchy products, whether it's pasta and bread, those types of things, all those grains, all those pies and pizza and pastry is all going to deliver a lot more sugar into your bloodstream. So we need to watch all our starches, particularly the refined starchy ones, as well as starches that may be coming from root vegetables like potatoes. Starch equals sugar. Too much sugar will raise blood sugar. Too much blood sugar will raise insulin. And too much insulin can raise LDL cholesterol. So get those sugars, get those starches under control. Make sure you've got a high vegetable diet, and make sure your protein is coming from a very wide variety of sources without thinking you absolutely have to take out some of those meats that you might eat on a weekly basis where you get a higher concentration of saturated fat. The final thing I just want to talk about is fructose, because fructose has also been linked to higher cholesterol levels. Fructose is more damaging to the liver. Fructose has been linked to higher fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty disease, but also with regards to cholesterol. We need to be very careful of excess fructose in our diet. And you've got to be careful of fructose that might be found in the sugars, because table sugar has a higher fructose level in it. We also get fructose in honey. If you think you're choosing honey as a healthier source and you're putting honey on your cereal, your porridge, for example, just be aware it's fructose, and fructose is not going to be helpful when we think about cholesterol. Be aware of your fruits as well. Fruits has generally much higher levels of fructose in it. And whilst we don't want to eliminate fruits from our diet, we want some fruits, but be careful of the more sugary fruits that are in your diet. And just keep fruits to just 2 portions a day, having them alongside your meals where you've got some protein in them to help balance the sugars from those. And the one other thing where there's a very high fructose level is in fruit juices, because of course, and with dried fruits, because you've got a really concentrated amount of the sugars, and fructose is a type of sugar. So overall, what we want to be looking for is, as I say, low sugar, low fruit, really managing, I would try to say, eliminate your fruit juices, think twice before having dried fruit. We want some whole grains in the diet. I'd focus more on the oats, the brown rice in your diet, other grains like millet, buckwheat would be a good choice. Cut down on the more starchy grains and the refined grains, which are white, and watch the starchy root vegetables, and get plenty of those good fats in your diet, like the olive oils, nuts and seeds, and the oily fish. You should try and aim for 3 portions of oily fish a week. And as I said, it isn't all about cholesterol when we're trying to think about heart health and cardiovascular disease and taking care of our arteries. I really would strongly recommend looking into homocysteine. Do a bit more research around it. There is more research coming out around homocysteine, as I said, in relation to dementia and Alzheimer's, but it is very much relevant when we're thinking about taking good care of our arteries and helping to protect the buildup of plaque that can develop there. So I hope you found that useful tonight. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do like the post and subscribe to my channel. If you're watching this in my Facebook group, please do leave some comments, as I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for watching tonight. Have a lovely evening. If you're celebrating Valentine's Day and watching this live, have a lovely evening. Thanks so much. Bye.